match, and it's going to be a big one here. Immunity will kick off their first meeting ever on the blue side. Chiefs are going to be over on the red, and Sion and Malphite, two massive tanks, are going to hit the bans here.
Yeah, the really reliable top lane tanks getting targeted with the first set of bans. And to remind everyone, we're still on patch 5.3. We jumped there in our last game series, and we're continuing there today. Sion's been banned against Swiper, what, 3-4 games in a row? So they're really respecting that top lane tank. Last time we saw him break out the cannon, I know that was super excited to see the Lightning Chipmunk used to really good effect in the top lane. Still available so far, but the bans keep coming through.
Yeah, Kalista actually banned out there as well by Immunity, and Rek'Sai going to be a jungle ban there from the Chiefs. So kind of interesting to see what's coming through. And Kalista, we saw it, I believe, once from Radiant, and no more after that performance.
Absolutely. It's one of those champions where, I mean, people know the potential of Kalista, whether it's in solo queue, whether it's in competitive. Kalista can really go off and hard carry games. So given that potential, smart to ban it away if you don't have a specific strategic plan to get rid of it.
Yeah, and Jarvan, they're going to be the next ban from IM as well. And we're going to have Chiefs look for their last now as well. So 2 jungle bans already. Xerath will actually complete the pull for a mid lane ban. So some respect to IM Cheese.
I mean, there is the potential for that blind pick Xerath. It does come out, especially in the LCK. There are counters to it. There are risks, especially if Jarvan's banned. But with the Jarvan ban, I guess maybe it's a reaction there, given that Jarvan's perhaps one of the best choices to deal with the Xerath. Just the ability to lock him down with Cataclysm the late game when his flash is down. Maybe just blind ban the Xerath to stop it being a safe first pick.
I mean, certainly Spooks' last few performances on that champion in the last OPL week for the Chiefs, it's a smart ban there, as he's played quite a lot of it, I believe, in the OPL. It's one of his most played junglers, but we'll have to see here in Immunity. Got up quite a few picks to consider. Lysandra still open, Nars available here as well, and of course the hover for themselves as well. It's Kassadin.
Yeah, it's actually the champions we've seen against Kassadin that Immunity have been the most unique. Of course, they do love that Swain counterpick against Kassadin. Not sure if we'd ever see that matchup in this, just given how much Swiffer is respected as a Kassadin player. Swiffer's Kassadin versus Cheese's Swain would be quite the matchup to see. But so far, Immunity's stolen that champion away.
Yeah, so they are going to pick up the Kassadin. And for me, the question, Papa, is which player's going to play it? Because Cheese, I'm sure, is a Kassadin player, but I don't know if we've ever seen it in the top lane for JK Smithy.
It doesn't really fit JK Smithy's prototypical champion pool. He's normally about those super tanks or maybe even the Rumble. So, I mean, Kassadin's kind of in the Rumble flavor, but it has never been the high mobility champions for JK Smithy. So my first guess is mid lane, but I'm ready to be surprised.
Yeah, we'll have to see here as well. The Chiefs have selected their champions already. Sivir there for the AD carry position, and Lee Sin, their jungler. So very comfortable stuff here for the Chiefs, you have to feel.
Yeah, Spooks has been so streaky with his picks. In those 6 wins, we saw 2 Lee Sin wins in the first week. He swapped around, I believe, Jarvan and Rek'Sai second week. Full Jarvan last week. Now with Jarvan ban, goes back to that comfort Lee Sin. Spooks Lee Sin, the last time we saw it in the Rift, it was those amazing moves against, I believe, Sudden Fear, those John Woo kicks across the map. So he can really provide some carry pressure from the jungle.
Yeah, and I like the Sivir takeaway here as well, blocking it away from Uber Giants Pro, but he's going to go to somewhere he's gone a lot now. Jinx actually the pick up for his AD carry, and we've gone with Morgana as well, so really securing the hyper carry bottom lane.
Yeah, really locking in the hyper carry early. Of course, we don't know for sure that it's going to be a Morgana bottom lane. It'll be an interesting double AP, Kassadin and Morgana. I'm not sure if I would really see that as being successful, but it's a lot of potential peel for the Jinx wherever that hyper carry goes.
Yeah, and that's one of the nice things about Morgana is that the Black Shield's so good at protecting your otherwise very squishy mobile AD carry. So Uberbro is going to be happy. He's got the Jinx against the Sivir, a matchup I know he likes. We'll have to see how it plays out. Rated, not too bad on Sivir.
Yeah, I mean, Sivir Jinx in the lane, it's actually a very strong laning matchup for Jinx. We've seen that quite a few times. I have to feel like the Sivir's been picked for comp. If you're going to pick Sivir so early, you're not picking for the lane, you're picking for that movement speed, that on the hunt in team fights.
We'll have to see. We've actually got Maokai there, a good complement, and Janna, so really going in for a lot of mobility. And I guess the big question with Swiffer getting his counter pick now, what's he going to play? Because unfortunately, he doesn't play Swain.
One thing I'm going to expect is high damage, though, coming from this mid lane. You look at down this Chiefs lineup, it's one carry so far, and it's Sivir. She's not a prototypical tank buster. So even though there isn't a big tank picked up on Immunity just yet, I need to see that big second threat come out. I'd be surprised to see if it was, say, an Orianna of the world. They'd be really committing on trying to control the dragon. I think whatever they pick, it's going to be a mid-game focused comp from the Chiefs just to try and control dragon, because it will be a 2-threat at best from the Chiefs.
Yeah, and you know, they might be considering a few things here, trying to beef up that front line. Via champion, we've seen quite a bit more, but I like that JK Smith is entertaining the idea of playing a tank, which would give Cheese the Kassadin. So if that happens, Swiffer's going to get his counter pick here if he wants it, and it seems like JK Smith will go back to an old favorite via the jungle there for Zahi, but Renekton in the top lane for JK Smithy.
Return of the immovable top lane tanks. Renekton Renekton against Maokai, as prototypical a tank matchup as we could expect from perhaps the early days of Season 3 is the best time to recall a matchup like that. So the big question mark is the Chiefs' last pick. You look down Immunity's lineup, a lot of options here. 2 hyper carries between Jinx and Kassadin. You have both the Morgana disengage for any sort of hard engage assassin like LeBlanc, and then you have the Vi for your own hard engage. So a lot of offensive and balanced defensive options, a strong tank line and a hyper carry, or a pair of hyper carries even. It's very exciting for Immunity. And you can see Chiefs, they don't have an idea locked in just yet. It's clear they're just discussing strategies. They need damage, but Swift is LeBlanc. How many times have we spoken about it? How many MVPs has he already picked up on that champion? They lock it in.
I mean, that was actually something that we almost have to apologize for not noticing in the bans there. LeBlanc was not banned here against Swiffer, which is very rare. Most teams really respect it, and Chiefs got to last pick it here, I guess confident that Chiefs wasn't going to take it because he's had a game here in the OPL, but it maybe wasn't his favorite outing. So LeBlanc's a very good champion for Swiffer. I'm very surprised it's not a higher damage AP carry, but it'll do just fine.
Well, the last time we saw Chiefs on the red side, of course, was Avant selecting that counter pick Vladimir against Swiffer's LeBlanc, and they paid for it. That was a complete dismantling of Avant and Kensti in the mid lane in particular. So it's always a gamble to leave up that LeBlanc, and another team's done it on the next game day.
And I guess if we want to maybe think about how the early stages of this draft work out. Okay, Swiffer's got LeBlanc. He's great at the champion. Cool. How does that work against the Kassadin matchup here for Cheese?
I mean, it's surprising, really, but Kassadin's a pretty safe laning matchup against LeBlanc. You can't really afford to put in multiple points into your E, your force pulse for late wave clears. What a lot of people want to do is they want to max E as soon as possible to have that AoE slow and the AoE burst damage. You have to max Q, but you can actually pressure LeBlanc in lane. You have a point-and-click ability with a shield, so you can trade very well with her. In the early levels, you can do fine. You just don't quite have the same wave clear. You're maxing your harassment spell, so you don't have wave clear available. So it's going to be a lot about as prototypical a roam combination as LeBlanc and Lee Sin. The double L's there are going to try and get so much work done in the mid lane, in the mid lane and the mid game, and that's where Chiefs are all about. So often we've said Chiefs have the proactive mid game comp. They've picked it again, but if it goes to the late game, they're going to have issues with damage. So if we ever see Immunity get a monopoly on the dragons, could be difficult for Chiefs just to push over that damage threshold in the late game.
I mean, for me, just looking at IM's comp here, it seems so well set up towards the later stages of the game. We already talked about Jinx being an awesome hyper carry, but just in general, they've got good setup for her as well, it feels like.
Yeah, and you kind of worry about who's going to kill that Jinx. Obviously, if they get the ward advantage, it's going to be LeBlanc and all her pick potential from very long range, closing distance. But if that plan doesn't work, you feel like if they ever lose ward pressure, it's going to be a struggle for them to kill that LeBlanc. They don't have that much gap close, barring the miracle twisted advance, but Black Shield's there for that. And of course, they have the go button. They have the engage with the assault and battery. Balanced engage, a tanky front line, and 2 hyper carries. Can you really draft any better than that?
No, I mean, I think Immunity not only have a comp that's very suitable for what's happening, but something they're very comfortable with. So I like what's here on this side. Again, really surprised. I mean, I guess there's no Swain player on the Chiefs side, so it makes sense. It's hilarious to me that Chiefs basically have the classic Immunity comp that we've seen in a few weeks of the OPL already, that is kind of missing that really high damage mid laner element.
And you have to remember, I believe Swiffer to this point has played 6 different champions, so he's definitely been showing kind of the deeper cuts of his champion. But this is his first repeat champion, probably his strongest champion. It's definitely his most played champion in solo queue. This is the champion he's definitely known for. He had the option of anything here. I mean, Kassadin in lane he does decently, but he opens up a lot of potential counter picks. They went for the skill matchup, basically. They went for the LeBlanc, one of the actual more comfortable laning matchups for Kassadin. Of course, LeBlanc can snowball any lane. If she gets an experience advantage, an item advantage, it can be crazy, but it's definitely a gambit being thrown here, and I do favor the IM comp if they can weather out the incredible mid game of the Chiefs.
Yeah, and there's so much pressure there as well. I mean, Spook's here on Lee Sin, if that's the case. If this is how the Chiefs want to set up this game, there's going to be a lot riding on his shoulders to really push his team through in the early mid stages.
Absolutely. I mean, you've got a balanced tank matchup in the top wave, so unless there's a lot of gank pressure, it's going to be very, very safe. In the mid lane, probably going to need some help to hold down that Kassadin early. If he is able to keep up farm cheese with LeBlanc, it's not a good situation for IM. In the bottom lane, they don't have a lot of setup CC, so it's not that easy to gank the Morgana Jinx lane. You, of course, want to punish that hyper carry. Jinx can trade so effectively in early levels with the Sivir. You kind of want to get in there, get in her face, and keep her down. But Lee Sin doesn't have the tools in bottom lane to do that, so I have to think it's going to be all about the Spooks and Swiffer show.
I mean, are we maybe expecting a lane swap there as well, just to isolate their mid lane even a bit more?
I mean, it's a possibility. There hasn't been a lot of lane swaps in the OPL so far. In terms of if it's a top lane snowball, then of course Renekton and Maokai about the same in a 2v1. We could go for the mid swap, but I mean, LeBlanc in a 1v2 wouldn't really work. We haven't seen mid swaps in such a long time. We're really going for deep cuts there. So I'm going to guess standard lanes. And it's going to kind of be the gambit to Spooks and Swiffer. Can they really get this game going in the mid game? Because that's what their team needs.
Yeah, it's a very classic, not even a classic Chiefs thing at this point. It's a classic Spooks and Swiffer thing. They've been playing together for so long. They were a famous duo queue and still are actually on the Oceanic servers. So nice to see them kind of back in that pairing. But it's a big question. There's a lot here on both of them actually to make sure they can pull through this game. Because Immunity, they are no strangers to fighting late game team fights.
And we have to give them credit. Because remember the last time we kind of criticized Chiefs to some degree for picking a mid-game comp and getting outscaled, they were able to pull it back against the Rich Gang and take that in a really titanic game. If you haven't seen it, please go to that oce.loesports.com website. Check out that VOD because it was a wonderful display of late-game team fighting, even when they were basically out-comped. This time, late game, it's not looking good for Chiefs, but if they can control the mid-game, you can win any game in League of Legends.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone can do it, it's probably the Chiefs. So let's get into game here. Immunity over on the blue side for their first match in the OPL against the Chiefs. And the Chiefs over on the right here, looking to continue their undefeated streak so far. 6-0 in games. Immunity, the team that finally stops the train.
So far, we're seeing very defensive fanning coming out from both teams. Actually, it's Jinx in the mid lane trying to scat out and see what happens, but no sign of an invade just yet.
Yeah, we can see the Chiefs sort of grouping up a little bit here. 3-man strong in towards their own blue buff. Now got a ward down, just kind of scouting out and seeing what they can see. Swiffer hiding out with his dual lane there as well. We've got Swiper on the top side there as well. He's kind of guarding the top entrance, and Spooks is kind of doing the same. So very defensive setup here for the Chiefs, and kind of the same thing for Ion. They're using Uber Road to anchor vision in the mid lane, and they're actually very heavily grouped in towards their own red buff.
And they seem to really be suspecting an invade into the red buff. You look down both lineups, there's no real terror matchups that really want to force a lane swap. You could argue Sivir versus Jinx, but sort of lane where if you understand the limits of both champions, you can play it defensively and do just fine. There's no really bad matchups, so it just might be a scouting report, but so far it's not going to punish anything.
One of the things I do like about the formation is that you basically ensure that your opponents can't get deep vision into your jungle, because if someone walks through this way, they're going to get killed, and if someone walks the other way, you're probably going to see them. So it'd be a really long path around the bottom through the tri-bush to actually get the vision you wanted.
Yeah, so you're splitting the interest for the potential of a really decisive first pick. I understand your logic, but so far in this game, not necessary.
Yeah, and we've seen quite a few defensive spreads in the OPL. We'll continue here safe and strong here in this particular game, and Zahi and Tegan going to group up for Krog. Zahi moving into red, and Lee Sin going to do the same there on the top side. Spooks getting a bit of help there from Swiper.
Absolutely. No need for any jungle follows, no lane swaps. Very, very simple, standard competitive League of Legends.
Yep, going to break it into standard lanes here. Just kind of looking through. Nothing super surprising here as far as starting items go. I guess maybe the one thing to highlight is the mid lane matchup here. Cheese going to go for a very safe Crystalline Flask, and Swiffer a bit more aggressive with his Doran's Ring.
It was actually added, I believe, IEM earlier this year that we saw a LeBlanc, I believe it was Link on LeBlanc, being punished for going Doran Ring against Kassadin, just because if you don't pick up the flask and the 3 potions, Kassadin's Q does quite a lot of damage. MR runes in general have moved out of the meta. Swiffer's not running any MR. It's just sitting on the 30 MR, as you can see on your screen. It is a risk, because early levels, if you can keep up an experience, you can get out harassed by the Kassadin. And even though it's just level 2, 1 point in the queue, we're seeing that already.
Yeah, Swiffer just missing his W, actually, so Cheese did not take the extra damage from the Sigil. And again, every time the Q comes in, he's happily trading with his own. I mean, Swiffer can trade back and forth, but right now, Kassadin looking very strong, and all this sustain just gets him what he wants. Get to level 6 safely.
Absolutely. If they just throw Qs at each other, one of them has 3 potions, actually biscuits on top of the potions, and the flask, and the other person has already popped through one of those biscuits. So it's a significant regen advantage for Cheese. He'll love this back and forth so far.
Yeah, Swiffer, though, is actually aggressively pushing the wave. That's one thing I've noticed when we see him play. Actually takes a tower hit as well, so very aggressive there in the mid lane, but Swiffer is so good at keeping his wave aggressively pushed up.
Look at Spooks actually hanging back. You can see exactly what they want to do here. They've got the Doran Ring. They know there's no potions available. Spooks wants to snowball this lane early and justify the early selfish purchase from Swiffer.
He was hiding out a little bit, but has gone off to do the scuttle crab towards the dragon now as well. So we'll give that up for now. Swift for the level 4 now. Slight experience edge from his aggressive pushing, and he's going to keep applying pressure. Spooks will move back in towards his jungle and actually aggressive pushing down the bottom as well. So everything going well here for the Chiefs early on.
Yeah, they're pushing in all the lanes. Of course, that opens up so much movement potential for Spooks. They're basically enabling Spooks, pushing our waves, allowing him to invade the enemy jungle, steal away buffs, maybe even contest Zahi in the early levels. Not a lot of CC coming out of Vi in the early levels. So, of course, if the rotation does come in from the LeBlanc, who's now pushing in the Kassadin, if he gets there first, could be the first blood coming through for Chiefs.
And that's one of the things I love about how the Chiefs are playing the early stage is they know that Vi really just wants to power farm to 6, so why not take advantage and push your lanes early on?
I mean, it's the complete unknowledge of how the game flow is supposed to go. They understand that given the matchups, given Vi's penchant for farming, if they have the pressure advantage, push it to the limit in the early levels, understand that Vi's probably not going to be ganking these overextended lanes. You have implied safety just from that Vi pick, and try and contest the buffs and keep that Vi behind, because at level 6, Lee Sin can do a lot of miraculous things, but Vi is so reliable. Right-click on someone, go in.
Yeah, and I think we can see that a bit here in the jungle item choices as well early on. Trailblazer is done there for Zai for a bit more farming, and we do actually have the Chilling Smite coming through for Spooks now.
It's very early. Of course, we're still on 5.3, so you can freely change between those enchants. So we often see the Trailblazer into the late Chilling Smite, perhaps when the Warrior enchantment is finished. This tells me that Spooks, it's that lane pressure he wants to go for, which makes sense. If the first dragon is going to come from a pick, it's going to come from Spooks.
It does walk past a ward there, but he'll be okay for now. Actually, still fishing potentially in towards the middle lane as well, but she's not too far forward yet. Still has his flash, almost level 6, currently sitting at 5, so pretty safe so far for the Kassadin.
Yeah, he's still sitting on, I believe, at least 2 potions, and he's chugged through some of his flask, but such a big regen advantage. You can see Spooks, he's trying to push this lane, because Swiffer just can't sit in lane and trade with this Kassadin.
Yeah, so I like that there. Spooks moving in, we'll clear it out. Swiffer's actually going to go back now, so a decent CS lead. That will drop now, of course, as Kassadin picks up minions, but Cheese has to be very happy with how the first 6 minutes of this game has gone.
Yeah, even or better in CS, you know, with just regen start, feeling great as Kassadin. And whenever you can say that about Kassadin, even or better, things are looking good.
Yeah, and up towards the top now, so I haven't checked in here for a while, but just a lot of farming, it seems like, going back and forth. Swiper a little low on mana right now, but he should be fine. And J.K. Smith actually started with a J.K. Smithy special here. It's Doran's Shield.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make too much sense compared with the Maokai's ability set. It's just going to be the auto attacks that you're going to see a reduction from, but of course just the regen and health. It does help a lot. I guess it's kind of an interesting situation where if we see a Lee Sin gank, actually you'll get a lot of purchase out of the Doran Shield. So it's just a balanced defensive item. There was no real need to start anything else. You don't really need a Ruby Crystal as a starting item because you don't really go into that Kindle Gem as much early. So with all the options available to him, Boots perhaps too aggressive or you know, just too much regen. So go for that Doran Shield.
Yeah, very solid, very safe here in J.K. Smith. You will push things in. Swiper's actually gone back, got a Catalyst, not going to opt for the second Dorans this time, and will teleport back to his wave to start pushing it out again.
Yeah, probably a gold value related there. Just was so close to the Catalyst, the completed item. Gets him towards the Rod of Ages if he wants to go for the more offensive of the 2 Maokai items we see. But, you know, given the mid-game potential, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Righteous Glory just to complement Sivir.
Yeah, I mean, that would be actually a very strong pickup here. We've seen that quite a lot in these Sivir-based comps as well. We've even seen Rhodey pick it up a few times as well on sports like Annie, so that's an option here. But the Chiefs have rotated in for this Dragon, but Immunity do want to stop them here. Zahi does have level 6, so does Cheese, but this Dragon might just be long. Swift actually going to get very aggressive. Swiper has dived in, and first blood, the Vi just gets exploded. Dragon goes to Chiefs. J.K. Smithy comes down, but Rosie covers him perfectly, and what a play!
Look at that ward that they managed to get to spot out Zahi, and they got the assassination coming from Swiffer, instantly killing the jungler, confirmed the dragon for Chiefs. Very nice pick, and who to get first blood but Swiffer. We're going to see the replay. It's the ward that's the real MVP. They see Zahi's on low health, and this instantly burst him down. He's almost deleted off the map. Smart pick. It saves the dragon. It's a good spot.
Yeah, really nice stuff there. And Swiper didn't even TP, by the way. My mistake there. It was just in the area, had rotated down after using it earlier, and just flash W'd onto him for the easiest kill of Swiffer's life. So a good start there. Kassadin slightly up in CS. Got his Catalyst now, does Cheese, but Athene's not here for Swiffer, and he's getting much more aggressive. That was a very well played chain.
He weaved the chain in there. Almost looked like he curled it around a minion. But again, the best LeBlanc players make those sort of mechanics look easy.
That one was really clever. He actually W'd on top of the wave and threw the chain out midair, so that because he knew that when he landed, the minions were going to clear out, and he'd land the chain perfectly.
So he's saying Swiffer knows a little bit about those LeBlanc mechanics.
He may have played this champion a few times here. As we are going to settle in. Chiefs with the first blood and the first dragon. Only 300 gold up, but they'll take the lead. This is what their team needs to be doing.
Yeah, but you can see Cheese is farming just fine. He's 5 CS ahead in the bot lane. There's been some heavy trading. I don't think anyone's quite going to fall.
No, T-Gun does flash out there, so he's going to be okay for now. But Uberbro is starting to fall a bit behind now. BF Sword versus BF Sword. Normally a place where you think Jinx might be favored, but so far Rosie and Red here looking very strong in the bottom side.
And although both people lived, look at the summoners used. You can see all summoners used for immunity, and actually, I say it just as the assassination comes through.
Yeah, Spooks will get traded for there. That's a really good binding, and the Chompers as well to get the trade kill. But T-Gun just got sniped there by Spooks.
But it's important the trade kill goes straight to Jinx. Jinx, who was behind, who had no summoners. This lane would have had to be denied to some degree anyway. No regen, no summoners available compared to all summoners available on Radia. He picks up the red buff. It's actually probably an advantage to the immunity with that gank.
Yeah, you have to think so. I mean, we talk about immunity having a comfortable late game comp here, so this Jinx actually getting a little bit of freedom there, getting that trade kill is probably quite happy. I mean, going to clear out some waves out under the turret. Sivir does push very aggressively, but as long as Uberbro stays competitive in this lane, that's all he wants.
It's 300 bonus gold. They're not being zoned off the turret. Of course, if Lee Sin had come in and basically harassed them off the turret, they could have got a lot of turret damage, maybe even denied a whole wave given there was no summoners up on immunity's side. A little bit over-aggressive, and the dying binding coming out from T-Gun. It worked a treat.
Yeah, nice play. Swiffer going to get his blue buff now as well, so we'll collect that off of Spooks, who graciously donates it over to his mid lane. A warrior enchant is done now for Spooks, but not quite yet for Zahi. So that little early aggression that Spooks showed there actually got him enough gold for that enchant.
Yes, all the regen, all the warding, available, and also the warrior. He's going to look to aggressively invade soon.
Down the bottom, though, it seems like we have some trouble. Rosie off screen, kind of blinking red there. Swiffer going to move and actually goes past the wall, but he's roaming down. He really wants to go in. So an all-in there seems to try and line up some kills for LeBlanc, and Swiffer, he's in a good spot to go get it, but they might have backed off just far enough. Swiffer going to dive in. Uberbro in trouble. The chain will miss, though. Swiffer in so much trouble. Does get off just in time. No, Zahi will collect the kill. Then has his ulti. Spooks has to be careful. Cheese down here as well. Spooks kicks him back, gets one kill. Can he make it two? Just needs to land another Q, but Cheese going to clean it up instead. He actually got the double, but Cheese gets the trade.
The double kill was really important for Lee Sin to pick up. It would have been a significant disadvantage for immunity. But Spooks, he pushes those limits on Lee Sin like nobody else.
Yeah, an aggressive roam there for Swiffer. Maybe a little too deep on that tower dive. He has now finished his Athenes, but let's see that again.
So he goes for the turret dive here. Doesn't think that Moore can hit a bind, so he thinks it's going to be easy. Doesn't expect the black shield. Actually overstays. The ignite probably would have got the kill. Then Zahi goes in, of course, has Cassidy in his pocket. The first pickup comes up from Spooks. Wait to see how low he falls. How does he get that last bit of damage? It must have been the end of the second part of the red buff proc. Not necessarily calculated, but so clutch in the end.
Yeah, really good that he got it there, and he does now have a Sightstone as well, so he can continue playing aggressively, get some deep vision down, and keep trying to fight. But Warrior done now for Zahi as well. Chiefs have to be a little careful. They're playing very aggressively this game.
And all the action in mid and bot, we actually look up to top lane. Quite a big CS advantage for JK Smithy, but he's been caught by Lee Sin.
Really nice slow there as well. Lands the Q as well. JK Smithy going to turn it on, has popped his ulti. Swiper going to try and follow in. There's not that much damage, but there's just going to be enough. Spooks nails the second Q and collects the kill.
Spooks and Swiffer, that's who we were discussing in the pregame. Both of them hitting their line skill shots perfectly in the early game. 6-3 is the advantage. It could so easily have been an even kill score if they hadn't been so on form with their champions.
Good pressure here from Cheese as well. Swiffer will move in to actually clean the minions out, so we'll do so there with LeBlanc. Zahe around there as well. Doesn't quite have his ulti back, so can't go in. And Dragon back up in a minute. Zahe might start things off by clearing out the Scuttle Crab.
Yeah, we look at the warding coming through. It's actually excellent defensive warding for immunity around the Dragon, and no sort of wards coming through for Chiefs. So even though they picked up the first one, not really in a position to contest the second one, at least on the warding front. They have the Sightstone Lee Sin, in fact, double Sightstone available. And speaking of Lee Sin, he wants to pick up a kill on Cheese before this Dragon spawns.
Yeah, pretty tricky kill to try and force here, but Swiffer is going to go and does get aggressive. Can't quite land the chain. Spooks will trump himself. Swiffer goes back in. Spooks tries to find the ward hop, but not quite enough. And Swiffer maybe misses the first chain of this game, so a bit of pressure there, but Swiffer has to be careful. This Caston is not messing around. Rod of Age is already done for Cheese.
It's a very fast Rod of Age. It's actually already a minute on the timer. It's only 9 minutes away from completion. 22 minutes is a very early power spike for the Caston to complete that item. As we see the Chiefs They're looking for a gank rush, but they're going to eat some pain.
Yes, Swiffer got caught by a binding, actually does manage to flash over the wall. That's the Mimic there, so Cheese chasing him, and T-Gun actually does have the ulti out onto Spooks. He will complete the snare, gonna line up an easy binding, but T-Gun now gonna get caught out of position. Q rides back in, Spooks there, could be in trouble. Tree's looking for it, but a good reset ulti there by Rosie. Now Swiper coming in as well there on that teleport. That's the one kill, that's all Chiefs get, but they'll take the Dragon as well.
Yeah, the rotation when you're talking about on the hunt is always going to be Swift coming through from Chiefs. So it was definitely an overextension from T-Gun for damage. He had the ignite, probably thought he could pick up the solo kill, but falls down. And even though they don't have the vision, they have no business really taking this Dragon based on vision. With the superior numbers, so easy.
Yeah, really strong pick there to set that up. JK Smithy will get a tower, and the mid tower may go down here as well. There's the mid one, so 2 turrets there traded for that second Dragon. Immunity probably pretty happy with that.
Yeah, on 5.3, you have to say 2 turrets. I mean, 1 turret for one of the first 2 Dragons, probably a decent trade. 2 turrets is definitely an equalizing trade. In terms of gold, they're actually 1,300 gold ahead. It's not till the 3rd Dragon that, say, the march towards the 5th Dragon or the really critical stats from the Dragon comes through. So they'll take this as long as they can set up and defend that 3rd Dragon from Chiefs in 5 minutes' time.
And I think that's the interesting thing about Dragon versus Towers here. That, you know, back in the day, that was basically just a gold trade. Now, though, you're trading, you know, stats for later in the game or for right now that scale up for flat gold. And you'd think Chiefs are the ones that probably prefer the flat gold in this situation.
You say that, but again, it's a fairly low damage comp. We're talking about LeBlanc hitting all her skill shots and a Sivir in the late game. Sivir can hit a decent item threshold and be a tank buster very late, but in the mid game her damage does fall off quite significantly. I feel like Dragon is their easiest way to victory. Rich Gains games have been quite similar in terms of picking these low damage but high CC comps, high pick pressure in the mid game comps, and taking games out before we get super late. I think the Dragon's very important to Chiefs' cause, but two turrets, definitely not an ideal trade.
Yeah, so Immunity will take it, but Chiefs game plan going pretty much as well as they could hope for so far. Blue buff does get picked up by Swiffer as well. Hasn't quite picked up his next item, but does have his boots, some double Dorans, and his Athenes. Rod Evaders, Sork Shoes now done for Cheese there as well, and Infinity Edge is on the way for both carriers. They've actually basically both got the same components right now.
But they're both sitting on, you know, just about sub 2,000 gold, so both of them can go pick up their Infinity Edges very soon. The one item power spike I think is significantly higher for Uberbro just because of the potential of that AoE crit coming out from the Infinity Edge, so you definitely favor him in terms of those pickups that we can see him go back pick up right now. But again, this 3rd Dragon is going to be the critical factor. Finally, Chiefs have pretty good wards set up around Dragon. No real reason for Morgana to face check anything just now, but in a few minutes, definitely going to start seeing that Dragon warding come through.
Yeah, Raider actually did get his Ions done, his Berserker Greaves as well. Not so much like there for Ubero, but does have his Infinity Edge ready to go, so that's good news there. And maybe the surprise is actually the top side of the map. Swiffer actually might be looking for a kill. He's going to find T-Gun. T-Gun face checks the brush, and that's not what he wanted to do. Spooks kicks him in the face for a kill.
Actually checking to see if he used back shield. He did, but you wouldn't tell from just how much burst damage is coming through from the LeBlanc. It's only Athene's Unholy Grail. We haven't seen the nearest large rod pickup come yet, but the damage has already started.
Yeah, and good rotation from Chiefs as well. Going to take out the bottom turret for themselves as well. So they'll take that turret. Rady going to continue to grow his CS lead a little more, but up towards the top as well. J.K. Smithy actually winning quite well in this match, about 20 CS ahead, even with the Brutalizer a bit more aggressive from him.
It is the consistent advantage we've seen in the top lane. You're right. I don't believe we saw a Brutalizer the last time we saw Renekton come out. I believe that was against Lissandra, so there might have been a Hex Drinker involved. Brutalizer, 1 damage item. Renekton's been the standard for a long time, ever since it was Wicked, I believe, pioneering that. It's not the Tiamat choice, but does give him some good stats, and Cheese is here to help him try and take out Swiper.
Yeah, Swiper in trouble, does pop his ulti. It's going to take a lot of damage here between Caston and Renekton. Nowhere really to go, can't run from Caston, and JK Smithy gets the kill.
Yeah, and you can see Chiefs have rotated into the mid lane. They really want to start picking up this global gold. If they take down this turret, they will be ahead in gold. So this is a big pickup for them. But Caston's going to start to rotate, and they have to back off.
Yeah, plenty of AoE there between Zahi and Uberbro there. Excessive force plus the rockets, teaming up nicely to clear those waves out. So Immunity will hold on to their gold lead for now, and hold on to the turret advantage as well. Chiefs, we keep talking about it. They've got a good mid-game comp, and we are fast approaching that mid-game.
I mean, Immunity, the one thing they have to watch is that their wave clear is actually quite poor. You mentioned excessive force and perhaps the force pulse. You have to get in fairly short range to be able to wave clear with those abilities. Jinx's AoE crits will be quite good in the late game, but again, auto attack layer, not reliable. They're definitely not Sivir. They don't have a Sivir wave clear option. Maokai actually does a lot of range wave clear himself. They need to be careful with these picks. They need to be careful with using the Kassadin to get side wave control or getting ganks in the side waves, because we can see a lot of quick rotations coming from the On the Hunt and quick turret pushing coming out of the Chiefs.
Yeah, and the next Dragon will be up in a minute 35 as well, so you have to think that the Chiefs are going to want to move in for their third. That's a critical one for them in this team comp. They can get another pick, great, but they might just have to fight 5v5 for it.
I don't think I've actually seen this from Maokai, but look at the item build here. He's actually just kept the Catalyst. This has not been a trend. We've seen either Righteous Glory or Rod of Ages completed. You have to guess from this it's going to be the Righteous Glory just because the Rod of Ages time will be so late. But the Frozen Heart completed super, super fast. You look down this lineup, there are 3 big auto attackers, and Kassadin loves to get in there with his W as well. So it's a very, very fast Frozen Heart. It could actually be the unsung hero of the next team fight, potentially in a minute's time at Dragon.
Yeah, and big utility pickup there for Swiper as well, really pushing the support tank role that Maokai likes to play here. And actually, a Ghost Blade's been completed by JK Smithy, so he has gone aggressive there with that Brutalizer, actually converting that quite early.
Shades of PDD with the Ghost Blade. You don't often see a completed 2,500, 3,000 gold offensive items. Usually Tiamat, you know, that 1,900 gold Tiamat into tanking. So he's actually committed a lot to split pushing, you'd have to say. I only really see the power of the Ghost Blade coming out in the split push sense. It gives him a lot of turret damage pressure if he pops that active. I don't know, just to me it's a surprise just because so much gold spent on combat stats and not a lot of defensive options.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you know, this big tank, especially against someone like Sivir that can have trouble, you want to burst through, but Spooks actually might have been caught here. Cheese going over the top, but Swiper, another well-placed teleport. Swiffer does land the chain, but Riftwalk will get Cheese out of it. JK Smithy, though, going to come straight in there, and Radiant just going to move around the back. JK Smithy taking way too much damage, and Swiffer will get the first kill. Rosie now in a lot of trouble, actually going to get ultied there as well, and Cheese will get that next kill. Now Swiper getting chased down. The Rockets doing so much work. Swiper going to look to go down here as well. Radiant has to cut away from T-Gun and forced to use his ulti. Gets hit by the W, gets crit away there as well, and T-Gun gets the kill for 2 immunity.
Genius bait, unwittingly coming out from JK Smithy. He teleported into the middle of the fight, instantly died because of his offensive build coming through, but who was happily free hitting at the back? You see he's actually picked up a crit cloak that has quite a surprising amount of crit, as we see Swiver. He's doing some interesting juking. That Q went multiple directions, but I think he's going to die.
Yeah, just got away, actually. He's still alive. He's actually juked all the way back to his other W. Now T-Gun going to try and find him. And Swiffer, a miraculous escape, and the Dragon does go to immunity.
I pronounced his death too early. Even I was juked as to who was the real LeBlanc there. The Swiffer, the LeBlanc master, does it again.
Really strong play, but unfortunately not enough there to kill that carry. And you talked about one-item drinks and critting rockets. That was a perfect example of that in the last team
See,
fight.
it wasn't one item, Pesham. It was the crit cloak on top. I was actually just I was just watching it and going, wow, that's a lot of crits in a row. That was almost the gold tier 20% RNG coming through, but it wasn't 20%. It was the 35% crit. And it did massive things in that fight.
Yeah, just so much AoE. The Chiefs clumped up to kill JK Smithy. He died very quickly with just the Ghost Blade, but immunity will take it. Those are the sorts of fights they can win, and crucially, they denied Chiefs their 3rd Dragon.
But both teams made a significant mistake in that fight. Firstly, JK Smithy, he teleported in as if he had a Randuin's, but of course he had the Ghost Blade, so he died instantly to focus fire. Surprisingly fast for Renekton with ultimate. But on the other side of the coin, free hitting was Jinx. They didn't have the defensive warding to be able to spot her to try and take her down. As Swiffer doing some assassination things, but not getting the kill.
Yeah, she's actually in trouble. Though Spook's going to move in, but does Rift walk away? Will Kassadin and Uberbro gets low. Swiffer actually low there as well. His Mimic bleeding low in health, so Swiffer's going to be forced back here. A good attempt at a pick, but can't quite convert.
This is not something that Swiffer's known for, but I'd actually like to see a Zhonya's second coming out, just because he's trying to overextend in fights to kill Jinx. That's his only job, basically, is to assassinate Jinx. That's the thing that Swiffer needs to do in these fights, especially after the big amount of gold that Jinx was able to pick up in the last fight. But he's taking so much trade damage, he probably needs that stasis option just to run down his cooldowns. He already has quite a lot of CDR. But killing Jinx, that's the priority #1 for the Chiefs.
Yeah, good binding there for Tegan. Will land onto Spooks there as well, so he will be denied any extra pressure. You mentioned Zonya's. Cheese almost done with his now, Zon. I love that option on the Kassadin.
Absolutely. You can Rift Walk, and you can even get your W damage and confirm it, as Uberbro takes a lot of damage, but so far is alive.
Swiffer making some pretty big plays here. Tegan, though, actually going to use his ulti. Rosie blocks the W there, and Swiffer really wants these kills. Just missed the chain. Zahi now going to go in. Swiffer will dodge the next binding. Good movement there, but Zahi really wants it. Swiffer going to distort back, and he's trying so hard to kill this Jinx.
The amount of map pressure Swiffer is able to cause on that LeBlanc is unbelievable. It feels like pre-nerf Cassidy almost, the amount of different gap closes he's done to try and assassinate Uberbro. He's close, but again, no cigar, even with someone is down for Uberbro. He needs to pick up those big kills in team fights.
Yeah, just a quick check as well. Yeah, Tegan is maxing that Black Shield second on Morgana, so he knows that he has one job. He has to protect his AD carry here as well. And the Phantom Dancer just got completed by Uberbro. So Raider keeping up on items, but that's a pretty big difference in AD carries.
Swiper will actually feel relieved that he's gone for the early Frozen Heart, just because Jinx is overtuned for items at this point. When you pick up that Phantom Dancer, especially after all the changes to how crit is distributed among those items, you do so much single target damage as Jinx to one target. And it's going to be the Maokai in the front line. At least he has quite a bevy of armor to at least try and hold off that massive Jinx damage.
We'll have to see here. Immunity actually pushing their map pressure a little further forward. Tegan and Zahi both getting pretty aggressive to try and get wards done. They've almost gotten themselves killed a few times, but managed to stay alive and keep the pressure up. Looks like the top side of the map's where they're looking, so maybe their first Baron is what they want. As Rosie going to get chased down here by Chiefs, caught a little out of position. Chiefs will go back in. Rosie, a good juke there using the brush. Now Swiffer going to rotate in as well. He really wants it, but Zahi finds him immediately. The ulti goes in. Swiffer pops out there, but Uberbro is going to find him. Swiffer going to have to use the clone very well to block it up. He actually does juke them there, gets a second distortion, and can he get out of it? Well, the ult goes through. Uberbro, though, claims the kill.
Yeah, the assassination mission for Swiffer finally leads to his own death. Rosie was just trying to open up some ward coverage to allow those easy picks to come through. But it's a very linear strategy. It's going all in on trying to cause shenanigans in the enemy base. 2 minutes to Dragon. At least they haven't given away the window for a fourth Dragon. But they can't be too cute here, Chiefs, because again, we're talking about an Immunity team that should outscale them in the late game.
Yeah, and Immunity getting that last Dragon as well, delaying the Chiefs' third, and obviously the eventual fourth and fifth that they could threaten. Just such a big deal that they were able to win the last team fight and contest the third Dragon. We always talk about it. The first two are pretty good, but the third is crucial.
Absolutely. So they don't have that 5% move speed. Who knows if they manage to get those previous picks if Swiffer had that extra 5% move speed. And now they're almost overextending to get single kills. And Immunity, they're farming up. We already see 10 stacks on that Rod of Age has been completed for a couple of minutes now. I guess the only puzzling thing to me is the damage choice from JK Smithy, just because he's delaying grouping when his team are building Aegis, they're building Zhonya's, they're looking for team fight items. He's gone the more selfish route. Of course, maybe it'll help him to hold down Maokai. He's still that big 35 CS up against Maokai, but Maokai's definitely already doing his job in team fights.
Yeah, I mean, Swiper's still looking for a few items though. Righteous Glory not quite done, but does have good armor between the Frozen Heart and the Ninja Tabe. Maybe JK Smithy thinks that the likely side lane pushes are either Swiper or Swiffer, which would make the Spirit Visage early make a lot more sense, but I sort of agree. He does now have the Warden's Mail, but still kind of squishy on this Renekton. Really needs that third item.
Yeah, you just have to think, what is that 2,800 gold doing for him? If it was split pushing, if he was taking turrets in the top lane, if he was forcing Maokai out of lane, absolutely excellent pickup. If it had been a 3-1-1 game where we had two split pushes, so much split push pressure coming out of the Yoma's Ghostblade. But it feels like he needs to be the big tank for his team, and right now at least, he's deceptively squishy.
Yes, but they are going to face check a couple of saplings there as well. Immunity going to look for their second Dragon now as well, and the Chiefs just starved out of vision around the pit, haven't been able to secure it. There are plenty of pink wards in the area for Immunity as well. They're going to clear out the Scuttlecraft. Dragon respawns, and Chiefs looking maybe to counter push instead.
Yeah, Chiefs have position here if they want to push down mid, but they're reacting to the Dragon. They have to walk through JK Smithy, but this Dragon's falling low quickly.
Yeah, they need to try and kill Uberbro as well, and they just can't get it done. So second Dragon will go to Immunity, and Chiefs going to just move in towards the red side of Immunity's jungle. They are setting up a gank rush here, but they should not face check. JK Smithy going to run in first. Does pop his ulti. Rady goes around the side. Zahi dives in the back. Tegon looks for an ulti, but can't find it. But Uberbro still safe in the back. JK Smithy, though, getting melted, and Swiffer will rejoin the fight. Cheese goes in and goes down. A Swiper gets that killer. Great ult resets for Rosie, and now JK Smithy going to get chased out as well. So many flashes over the top. Uberbro is going to try and cut it out. He's not going to get it done, though. And a 5-0 ace for the Chiefs.
Immunity bought the bait. Hook, line, and sinker. They needed to double down on what they had vision of. They knew where the minions were pushing into the mid lane. They had their pink wards down defensively. The one area that was top risk for them to walk through was next to the Raptors. And they paid for it desperately. After looking so great, getting so many advantages for themselves, this Baron is going to change this game.
Yeah, gold lead now back in Chiefs' favor, and let's see that fight again.
Again, they've got vision around this. They know where the minion wave is. Why are they walking through this brush? There was no need to do so, but of course, we've already mentioned the front line of Immunity isn't tanky at this point, and JK Smithy and Zahi's already dead, but JK Smithy's chunked out. They shoot through the ult, but Chiefs, they're fighting around their frontline tank. All the damage so far has been absorbed by Maokai. And even though he's stunned in the back, it doesn't matter. All their damage dealers healthy, they pick up a free Baron.
Yeah, and that was without the Rabadons, I believe, for Swiffer as well, which is now completed, plus an extra blasting one for what is soon to be a Void Staff. Last Whisper done for Radiant now as well. Righteous scoring completed there for Swiper. The Chiefs just finished a lot of major items. Even Randuin's for their jungler has been done as well. Immunity had a lead now, and Chiefs just flipped the gold lead on its head.
You know, I have to wonder if Immunity, much like Rich Gang, will watch this VOD and wonder if that was the moment where they kind of undid their own hard work. It was their own mistakes that were made. And Swiffer, he wants to pick up the kill.
He really wants it, going in so much damage, and just 3 hits him to... Jeez, that is 100 to 0.
That's what you get with the Death Cap base time. You get instant killing. And that Jinx is done. So's this mid turret. And Chiefs, you know, a moment ago, they were looking like they were behind it. They had to go for something desperate. That sort of a gank rush was desperate. But oh, did it pay off.
Yeah, there's no looking about it, Papa Smithy. They were behind it now after a really smart gank, death brush and a Baron there as well to kind of sew things up. Looking strong, and this is what the Chiefs wanted. They basically begged Immunity to give them vision, and now Swiper going to dive in there. Zai just gets exploded there as Swiper dives all the way in. The Chiefs will back up, take a turret instead, and Immunity just cannot defend this mid inhibitor. Zai is still dead. Swiffer going in, almost gets a kill into T-Gun. Just basically 1v4. The Chiefs, though, take the minute hip and walk straight out.
And they handed over mid-game comp so much gold. 5 kills after being behind in the last few fights. Then the 300 gold to each member from the Baron. So many items are now being completed by the Chiefs. And they're actually overtuned after being significantly far behind. They were behind about 1,000 to 200 to 2 to 3,000 gold not 5 minutes ago. Suddenly 6,000 gold ahead, getting all the global objectives. It's going to be the 6th turret falling instantly here. And suddenly, Immunity, they're not even in touching distance of the Chiefs anymore.
No, I mean, we saw that Uber was keeping pace very well with Radiant for a while. I think ahead at one point as well. Cheese, though, going to clear some vision up, but has to be careful. J.K. Smithy gets massively chunked there as well, despite the Black Shield and the Baron minion still there. I saw Swiffer going in. Zai actually going to go in, but Swiffer just sort of baiting him out, but doesn't use his ulti. Goes back in onto Radiant. A good ulti there from Rosie will keep him out, but Cheese dives in, and Renekton gets the first kill. Uber Bro, though, does get knocked up. Swipe is forced to back off. Cheese, they're going to go in, trying to get another kill, and it's still not quite dead. Cheese, good zombies there, but Spook's just going to kick him out of the way, you have to think, but no. Rosie does go down. A good Black Shield there for T-Gun. 2 for 2 actually. Immunity defend their base.
Yeah, Chiefs have to respect the damage coming out from Uber. He's full health. For once, he's got his tanks fighting in front of him, even though they've both fallen down, chunked out the members of Chiefs. They need to back away. They can reset, they can farm up these waves, get a bit more gold, but the map belongs to the Chiefs now.
It really does, and even just going back to that fight, and even just the last few as well, I mean, obviously Chiefs had a big injection of gold that helped them there, but you can't help but thinking J.K. Smithy here, 31 minutes in, still hasn't completed his roundy ones, and he just feels so squishy in these fights.
Yeah, we talk about the lack of tank busting coming out from Sivir. I mean, Renekton, he's tanky, but I wouldn't call him a frontline tank, especially compared to Maokai, who skipped over that selfish option, didn't even go for the mid-game power spike, just went for the teamfight option in Frozen Heart. And so we've got a top laner, a tanky top laner who's building for team fights from the start, basically ignoring the lane matchup and building for team fights. And then the selfish choices coming out from J.K. Smithy, they just haven't paid off. He hasn't got the split push going. I mean, if that face check never happened, would he have just outscaled, picked up the Randuins and been okay? Maybe. But it did, and now his build is kind of in disarray.
Yeah, and you can see the upgraded trinkets on all sides here as well. Chiefs have so many sweepers, so going to clear out some vision here in the bottom side as well, and just open up more space for this LeBlanc mostly as well. Raider also 3.5 damage items with an extra BF sword in inventory now as well. 6 turrets down, Chiefs going to make it 7.
Yeah, on patch 5.3 with the changes to the trinkets, so cheap, so easy to pick them up, but the fight might be on.
They're going to dive in. Chizo already popped his on here. Spookso very tanky with the Warmugs, and Swiper in the middle of it all, just tanking so much damage, just keeping under it. T-Gun low as well. Pop the locket, will immunity, and then Chiefs will back up out from the tower dive. Little awkward, no one dies, but Chiefs will take the pressure.
The important thing for immunity there wasn't actually Swiper tanking turret. After the twisted advance, the turret aggro changed to Radiant, so they had to disengage. They couldn't just have the super tank going on, but he's been caught by Dark Bunny. He's dead.
Swiffer going in, gets bound and immediately killed. Now Zai going to turn around. Radiant blocks it with his ulti. Though Rosie, a great ulti to reset the fight, but he's taking too much damage. She's going to dive back in, and Chiefs just have no good damage. So Swiper, though, actually does get the kill on Zai. Still pretty tanky, but will eventually go down. And a 1 for 2 trade in there in favor of immunity. Swiffer, way too deep.
Yeah, none of the frontline is strong enough for Ubro to continue with the resets. They both teams back away. It was a miraculous Dark Binding coming onto LeBlanc. That's what won them that little engage. but it's only a small advantage. And of course, the super minions are pushing aggressively. You can see on the minimap, the pings are coming through. They need to defend their mid turrets.
Yeah, and that's exactly why the Chiefs were staying in the lane, continuing to push it, and now they're going to rotate in for their third dragon. A little late on this dragon. You have to think that this is probably what Chiefs wanted to be their fifth, but better late than never. They'll take it.
Absolutely. It gives them that extra movement speed, more options. Again, the map is still realistically theirs to run away with, but there is a decent pink lineup. They at least have ideas of what's happening around their red and blue buff. Baron's a minute away. That's going to be a push for the Immunity team to contest.
Yeah, Chiefs should have just enough time to spend their newly gotten gold and then go into the Baron and see if Immunity want to contest for them. Swift are actually going very aggressive, by the way. Not going to opt for the Zonies that we thought he might look at some point. Even going Abyssal Scepter fourth after Void Stuff.
Absolutely. Just getting a bit of magic resist to respect the damage coming through from Cheese, and to some extent the AoE magic damage coming down from JK Smithy. Of course, if you look at the per second values, not much AoE magic damage coming from the Dominus, but over 15 seconds, then the damage adds up. That Renekton, it's not going to be instantly deleted, so just respecting the magic damage potential and even amping up Maokai's damage.
Could be wrong, by the way. Swiffer actually just got a Negatron Clerk and now has the need to see Large Rod, so maybe is going to go for the Zonies, just wanted some cost-efficient MR, but both items will be good. In fact, if he finishes his build that way, just be fine there as well. But Immunity, respectable damage on their side. Chiefs do have to be careful.
I mean, you look at Swiper and Spooks, they've literally built to stop Jinx from getting a reset. You've got the Warmogs Randuins coming out from Spooks. He started with Warrior, got the early pressure, and we were calling his name so often early. His score is very respectable, but now he's all about disengage, peel, and stopping Jinx from getting that first kill, because the first kill can lead to so many more with the hyper mobility of both Uberbro and Cheese, but they're going in.
Yeah, Spook's actually going to get ulti there, and the rest of them are going to catch in Tegan with a good binding, and Uberbro going to get the kill. Rosie's ultimate not enough to save him there, so Chief's jungler down there will give Immunity room on this Baron.
He's tanky, but Jinx is an excellent tank buster, and he was just left to the wolves. There was no even safeguard option coming through for Spook, so he dies. Immunity, I'm not sure what they can get done. Swiffer wants to get a pick.
Oh my god, kills Tegan through the black shield over the ridge. That's what he can get done.
Yeah, he does so much. It's still 30 magic resist for Tegan, so even though it's a little bit of magic damage negated, maybe 200 by the black shield, it's nothing compared to the, let's have a look, 640 AP Chief Swiffer on LeBlanc.
Yeah, not a joke on the LeBlanc right now with the AP. And unfortunately for Uberbro, we've got the Zonies coming through for Tegan. I think that's the right choice for support Morgana, but no Mikhail's forthcoming right now. No Banshee's Valkyrie on Uberbro. If the Squishies get caught, they die very quickly to this LeBlanc.
And kind of the big item I want to talk about that's missing for me at 35 minutes is Thorn Mail on JK Smithy. That's the item I think that he could really start to shrug away whatever the bevy of damage items coming through on Radiant. He doesn't have that item. He's nowhere near it. He's going for a bit more magic resist, but he needs to be focusing on holding down Radiant. If he can get in Radiant's face and hold down the Sivir, there's only Swiffer for damage, but they're trying for Baron. There's a lot happening here.
Yeah, the Chief's going to peel off this. Swiper going to go in. Cheese actually solo already, and he's going to die there. Spooks will get that kill. Now Swiffer going to move around the back. JK Smithy in trouble, and Radiant already gets the kill onto that Jinx. That's the two carries from Immunity down. Cheese going to keep going in. Kick back there from Tegan, just gets mashed back into the team, and that might just be game, Bubba
the
Smithy.
Big picks come through. They don't have a minion wave to potentially finish the game, but they've got a Swiper. He's got a lot of armor. They should be able to finish it out.
Yeah, he's going to go in there. Spooks just kills JK Smithy. So much damage on this Chiefs team. Radiant coming in. Plenty of tanks here for Chiefs, and Immunity just going to wonder where the game went. Swiper going to take a little bit of the Fountain Laser for fun, but Chiefs take it out, continuing their undefeated run.
Pastry time, sorry for the colloquialism, but it feels like Immunity had their lunch stolen by the Chiefs. They were in such a wonderful spot, setting up for their second dragon, negating the third potential coming from Chiefs, but just face-checking one bush completely changed this game. Actually shades of the Challenger series where we watched the 4-0 Immunity games, which were doing fine. We saw a pause, and then a few moments later we were wondering how Immunity had lost that game. Feels almost the same here.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Chiefs, a fantastic performance there towards the end of it and a solid early game, but Immunity, I agree with you. The lunch has been very much stolen away.
So we're going to watch a replay perhaps to see one of the big highlights, and of course this is the game brush. So let's not roll the clip, but let's watch what's happening here. Because we're looking in terms of wards. Where could Immunity have gone is the question. They know where the minion wave's at. They could have, of course, gone past the Raptors and just gone through the lane, tanked a few minions. Would have been just fine. They have defensive wards aggressively towards Chiefs jungle. They saw the Chiefs a moment before, so they had some idea that they were in the area. There's nowhere else they could be but this brush. So we roll the tape, and the face check comes through. JK Smithy's first in, so at least the tank's leading the charge, but he's not that tanky, and Zahe as well. he's a jungler, so he's not going to be the frontline tank. They needed JK Smithy to shrug off whatever damage was coming out of that brush if they'd committed to face checking it. But look, they paid for it. They didn't have the tanking members. And ace at 27 minutes, when the last 8 minutes we've been saying, wow, we were really praising Immunity's play. It was needless. They didn't need to go in there. The Garen brush is something we bring up time and time again. Are they in the brush or are they not? If they are, you might lose the game. So why not just respect it? Why not just go the safest way possible and lose nothing?
Well, unfortunately for Immunity, they lost everything there in that game, and the Chiefs continue an undefeated run, and we have one hell of a game coming next. The two Titans here, 1 and 2 of the OPL. The Chiefs, can they stay undefeated? Because they have to play the Direwolves.